Hey, what's going on, folks? This is Ryan, and this is another episode of Just My Opinion with Ryan. Let me just say thank you for tuning in again. If this is your first time, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Truly appreciate it. Once again, my whole goal is to talk to the camera. You guys talk back in the comments. Let me know what you think about today's video. If you have any recommendations, leave them in the comments below. Open to watching just about any and everything. So let's get right into it, folks. We're talking about Scream today. This is the 5th installation in the franchise. Wes Craven would be proud. May he rest in peace. I thought the storyline was very well written. For those who are familiar with what this plot is about, this is 25 years after the brutal murders in the quiet town of Woodsboro, California. There is someone else now, a serial killer who is taking on the Ghostface killer mask and is starting all of this killing nonsense all over again. So that's what it's about. I thought this storyline was great. I really enjoyed how this storyline linked some of the original survivors, Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette. It linked them to this new circle of victims / friends in this new movie right here. So, and even with the new cast, you had some familiar faces. You had Jasmine Savoy Brown, which I swear, at least what I've been watching, I've been seeing her in just about everything. Yellow Jackets. She was in the Miles Morales video game. I recently got the PS5, and that was one of the first games I got, and I noticed her yet again. And then I turn around and I see that she's in this Scream movie. So Jasmine Savoy Brown has been very busy, very booked, doing big things. Definitely salute to that. Also, I had the boy Jack Quaid from The Boys. He's in this movie, so that was a pleasant surprise to see as well. And also you have Melissa Barrera, who is, at least from my knowledge, was most recently in The Heights, the musical that was on HBO Max. So even these new circle of friends, or this new young group, they all got pretty impressive resumes off the rip. So once again, as I mentioned, the way it was handled, I thought the storyline was great. I'll get into it when we get later on in the video about some spoilers. I wasn't a big fan with some of the kill scenes. Some of the kill scenes felt a little too far-fetched. And I also liked how they did build suspense. It reminded me of the old school Scream movies. It brought that feel back. It brought the old school feeling back of some of that. For examples, like actually this happened a little way too much when I think about it, but someone will open the refrigerator, look in the refrigerator to look for some stuff. They zoom in, you hear the intense, music to get you on the edge of your seats, and then they close it, you think the killer's there, and it's nothing. So there was a lot of these roller coaster moments to try to see if you could anticipate when the killer's popping up, only to find out it's a false alarm. That might have been done a little too much in the movie, but nothing to the point where it actually turned me off necessarily. And I also, just like the old school Scream movies, this movie did have me on the edge of my seat trying to guess from beginning to end who the killer was. And of course, I was wrong. I was dead wrong as far as who I was thinking the killer was. So I really enjoyed the storyline. Just to recap, I also enjoyed, not all of them, but I did enjoy some of the intense, build up just to find out that it's a false alarm. As I mentioned, that was done quite a number of times. I enjoyed it until it was done a little too much for me, but still, that was something to look forward to. And as I mentioned, the movie had me guessing the whole time. I really enjoyed just being that involved or interactive in the movie, just trying to think to myself and play detective from the theater seat. So I did enjoy that as well, and just the way they connected some of the young characters with the original characters, I thought was brilliant, and I'll get more into detail to that when we get into the spoilers part. But I definitely would recommend this movie to anyone who is, well, if you're familiar with some of the old Scream work, I definitely would recommend this one. This one is not a letdown. Yes, it is a reboot of some sort, but as I mentioned, it definitely brought in the old school familiar faces, and it was just good how they got involved in it. It made a lot of sense. It wasn't anything too far-fetched in terms of the storyline. So that part was great. As I mentioned, the only thing, my only complaint really was just a few, not a lot, but just maybe about 2, maybe 3 of the kill scenes in the thing was like, all right, man, like, But I get it. It's a movie. It's fictional. Some things you have to just, you know, chuck up to the suspension of disbelief. So I get all that. That might just me being a little too petty, but that's what it is with me. I highly recommend it. I would recommend that you at least see the original Scream first, or at least the first two versions before seeing this one, if you're not familiar with the Scream franchise at all. So, but I mean, you could go see it if you haven't, but I think it will make a lot more sense if you saw at least the first one before jumping into this one. And so, without any further ado, about to get into some spoilers. Alright, so let's get into these spoilers. I thought the storyline was great. I really enjoyed how they linked the old school characters with this new school characters, and I liked how you saw the relationship from the new to the original survivors. For example, now Mindy, which was played by Jasmine Savoy Brown's character, she's the niece of Randy. Randy was played by Jamie Kennedy before he got killed in one of the Scream movies. And I really enjoyed how she was pretty much the spitting, her attitude or her personality was the spitting image of Randy. She knew all the scary movie rules, and she knew all the things you need to do and adhere to survive. So I thought that part was very dope, how they linked that together. The biggest part for me that really drew me in terms of the storyline was Melissa Barrera's character, who is Sam. She was actually the daughter of Billy Loomis. So I thought that was a very, very dope tie-in. And of course, Billy Loomis is the original killer from Scream 1. You know, him along with his partner in crime. But they mainly focus on Billy Loomis. I really enjoyed just the tie-in like that. I thought that part was brilliant. That part really had me on the edge of my seat, like, oh, wow. You know, and just the whole fact that, you know, she's having like these, you know, visions of her father talking to her, or like almost like this split personality type of thing going on. Well, not split personality, but you know, she's talking to this, you know, this imaginary dead person. Well, she's talking to her dead father throughout the movie here and there. So I thought that was great. So half the time I thought maybe she was the killer, and like, oh, this woman's crazy. She don't know what she's doing. She's clearly the daughter of a killer, so of course it's natural. Well, maybe I didn't think she was a killer, but I just thought that was well done. So, pardon me. But, yeah, so I really enjoyed the storyline and how they just tied everything in together. Of course, David Arquette's character, you know, Officer Dewey, he was back in the mix. I thought that was really dope. But let me just get into the main part that I disagreed with and that I really couldn't really get over, which is some of these kill scenes, man. Let's get into some of these kill scenes, man. Like the hospital scene, for example, where it really went down. Well, actually, two hospital scenes where it really went down. One, when the killer was actually in the hospital and almost got to Sam. And that part bothered me because it was daytime, if I'm not mistaken. Hospital is fully functional. You got staff, you got front desk. And of course, she goes into this break room where she's alone. But let's be honest, you know, Ghostface Killer ain't the most stealthiest killer out there. So I'm like, you hearing screams, this guy's stripping up the furniture, you know, it's a tussle. It's a tussle every time the Ghostface Killer is attempting to kill somebody. It's nothing silent about it. It's a tussle, like furniture is getting tripped over or thrown. The victim is yelling and screaming, trying to get away. They wrestle in here and there, you know, and sometimes they get stabbed and killed, sometimes they get away. But nevertheless, it's always a tussle in this piece. So ain't nobody hear this big tussle in the break room, and no one paid attention to it until she ran out the break room saying someone's trying to kill me. That part was like, all right, man, like, and there was like security right there just chilling at the front desk. And it's like, all right, so you now you got the gun out ready to shoot, but you ain't hear all this commotion in the break room going down. So, and the commotion was like 30 seconds long. It wasn't like a quick 10 seconds, oh damn, I almost got killed. So that part, you know, as I mentioned, wasn't necessarily a kill scene. You know, the main character survived. But I'm like, come on, bro. And then, of course, you have my biggest problem with it was the second kill scene, or the second version in the hospital where, unfortunately, David Arquette's character is killed. But before that, like, that was just, like, this whole hospital floor is empty. I understand it's nighttime, but, you know, hospitals are 24/7. Like, there ain't nobody at the front desk. There's like this whisk floor where all this, you know, mayhem is going down. Ain't nobody, no bystanders hearing nothing, huh? It's just everybody went on lunch break at the same time. Like, I don't know what's going on. And, you know, so that part I thought was like, yo, don't nobody hear this up? Nobody else is hearing what's going on. So, you know, so that part was a little wild. And of course, I'm not saying a bystander has to step in like they're the Avengers and save the day and nothing like that, but I'm like, damn, like this killer's bold as hell. Like, you know, just gonna go out and try to kill Sam's sister Tara. You know, unfortunately, David Arquette got you know, met his demise in that thing. But my whole point is like, damn, like nobody else hear what's going on. Like, you know, so especially the cops, like there ain't no hospital security who's hearing what's going on. Nothing. It's just every victim, every man for themselves against this Ghostface killer on this particular floor. Like, this is just mysteriously the abandoned floor in the hospital that does have a patient on it, by the way. So that part was a little wild to me. But other than the kill scenes, I really thought it was a great movie. As I mentioned, the biggest draw for me, or the biggest attraction for me, was just how well done the storyline was, linking the original survivors to this new school group of friends. And so going, you know, of course, I'm looking forward to a sequel. I hope they do a sequel. I'm sure there are. I mean, you got a number of survivors. I still want to know what's going on with Sam and this voice in her head, which is, you know, her father, Billy Loomis. I want to see what that's about. Definitely want to see if Mindy learned her lesson and will adhere to some of her own, you know, scary movie survival rules. I thought that was dope too, about how parallel the Jamie Kennedy scene and the Jasmine Savoy Brown scene was. I thought that was very dope. And even though she survived it, she almost died exactly the same way Jamie Kennedy did. So that was wild. So just stuff like that I thought was really dope. Just jumping between the original survivors and this new school brand, I thought was well done. Having them mingled in there was well done. All of that. And I think it was very dope. I'm looking forward to another sequel. I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if it comes maybe a year or two from now. Oh, and before I leave, even the sheriff, Wes's mother, you know, the sheriff of that small town in Woodbury, she gets killed on her front porch in broad daylight in her own neighborhood. And it's like, too little, too late. Like, and she called for backup before driving to her house, and ain't nobody get there in time. So I just thought that was wild. But as I mentioned, overall, I would highly recommend this movie. Clearly, the only thing that I didn't agree with was just a few, not all of them, but just a few of the kill scenes. Thought was a little far-fetched that I just explained in this video. But overall, man, go check it out, man. It's definitely a good movie. I do think Wes Craven would be proud of how this came out. And once again, this is Ryan, and this is just my opinion with Ryan. Please remember to hit that like and subscribe button, or even hit the bell to get notified when another video drops. And signing out. Peace.